Aloha. You're watching F5 On Demand. And welcome to An Inside Look, where we take a deeper dive into BIG-IP technology. I'm Technical Marketing Manager Peter Silva, and I have Corey Marshall with me today, a worldwide security systems architect. Thanks for joining us, Corey.
Hey, how's it going, Peter?
I'm pretty good. And so today we're going to take an inside look to the BIG-IP Application Security Manager and its bot detection and web scraping technology. I guess that's a good word to use. Bot detection and web scraping. Is that right, Corey?
Indeed. It's a kind of a loosely defined term with regards to web scraping. But in general, we're looking to detect any kind of automated tool that's being used to either crawl a website, copy a website, or recon a website.
And so this would pertain to, say, pretty much any website out there, obviously any e-tailers or realtors or automotive or anything that might have proprietary images or information. And then what these bots do will go out, they'll essentially take or steal that information, those images, and then place them on their own site and claim that it's their own. Is that right?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things that goes around online. In addition to any kind of e-commerce competitive analysis kind of activity, and that applies across financial services, and retail or wholesale sectors as well.
Excellent. And so I see we're on a BIG-IP Application Security Manager. Is this version 11.3?
Indeed, it is.
Cool.
Latest and greatest.
All right. So show us how we protect those web properties out there from bot detection and web scraping.
Indeed. So I went with a very simplistic setup here. So we have one virtual server with one pool member, which just happens to be this PHP auction website. Many people, security industry, will be familiar with this, but it's a vulnerable PHP application which we can use for security testing and training. So I go back over to the configuration tab here. Notice I am in a security policy that's called auction. It's in blocking mode currently, and if I go down here and look at the anomaly detection, so really what we're after is the web scraping, not the brute force attack prevention, which is against login pages. Web scraping applies to your entire website.
And if you're interested in brute force attack, by the way, here's a plug in the middle of a video. You can check out my In 5 Minutes or Less for the brute force protection on ASM. Check it out on our YouTube channel. In video promotion.
Just looking here at the web scraping configuration. So we have bot detection, session opening anomaly, and transaction anomaly, all set to alarm in this case. They do slightly different things. So you're looking at bot detection our goal is to detect whether or not a human is actually clicking on the link from a web page by tracking how often that URL is changing.
Cool.
Then we move on to session opening anomaly. So this is where we're looking at a client that's opening an anomalous number of sessions over a threshold period of time, and that applies to a particular IP. Session transactions anomaly. So this is where we're going to look across the entire website. So if you have a website that's normally doing 200 transactions per second or 1,000 transactions per second, and all of a sudden that number has been exceeded, then the system's going to mark that as a suspected attack and take the appropriate action, be it alarm or block.
And so I noticed some of this, it says detection and prevention, and with ASM, it doesn't necessarily just immediately block access to users. It'll first detect that something might be different, not normal. It'll then kind of mark that and keep an eye on it. And then once another threshold is reached, then it'll start saying, oh, no, you can't do this anymore.
Indeed. Yeah, what you'll find about ASM is that you really have a flexible response action. Even in session opening anomaly, one thing I'd like to point out is the ability to, once we have established that you look like a potential attacker or bot, we will start rate limiting you. And we can also go and look at third-party intelligence or external intelligence to determine whether or not we're going to block your connections with our IP intelligence feature.
And there's another one, IP intelligence in 5 minutes or less, using that that database out there to know about or to get information about known networks and known IP addresses that are prone to sending out bots and malware and other such nasties.
Indeed, known bots, known scanners, anonymous proxies, storage nodes, for instance, all those things can be included as part of an IP intelligence input. So, just really quickly, now that we've provided a simple overview of what these different anomaly detection options are and what they do, just really quickly run you through a quick demo of that. So I'm going to actually share a different screen.
If you go back to the one screen. And so step by step, I see we have alarm, and then there's this whole IP address whitelist area. What does that really represent?
Yeah, really that represents precisely what it says. If you want to whitelist a particular IP address, maybe you have your own internal scanners, web archiving, or analysis tool, performance tool in your environment, and you obviously want that tool not to set off alarms or block or be blocked from crawling the website, then you can go ahead and add it to the whitelist here.
Got it.
Let me go ahead and share on the monitor here. We're just going to use a free-piece software called HTTP Track, and this will replicate the behavior that you'll see, from a bot or from a crawler, in instance. And so this will, when we run all these three in concert, definitely raise some red flags within ASM. I already have a project set up called Option, and all that's going to do is scan our VIF. The 10.0.14.21. So I'm going to kick that off. Sometimes running these concurrently, I think it's done, but it's not. So you got to kick it off again. All right.
And these tools obviously are essentially replicating what a bot would be doing out there on the internet, trying to grab information from a website.
Indeed, indeed. And there's many tools you can do this. The most basic you can go with is wget. You can use Perl. There's just many tools that you can use to do this. I just happen to use this one because it's very easy to use, and it's very utilitarian with regards to the way it organizes the data once you save it. So,
gotcha.
So we'll make it go again. So while we're doing that, as you see, we have our bots off to the races. So I'm going to go ahead and look back at our other monitor. Now that we got our bots off to a start there, let's go ahead and look at the event logs and see what we see. Security, event logs, application, web scraping stack.
Lots of violations.
Yeah, so we've went ahead and raised some red flags here. We've caused ourselves to be flagged as a transparent mode, the CS injection ratio. So what this means is that we have a client-side JavaScript injection that we use to determine whether or not a user is real, if it's a legit browser, or if it's a bot. So based upon that JavaScript injection, a bot will not be able to respond, whereas a real browser, used by a human, will be able to respond. Not only were we flagged with the client-side JavaScript not working properly, but we're flagged as a bot, and also our transactions per second created an anomaly detection as well.
We see all of the all of these violations. So how do we then say go? And I believe it was in just alarm mode, right?
Yep. So we're in alarm mode right now. So now that we tracked ourselves as being a troublemaker, and if an admin is nervous about going ahead and enabling blocking in the past, now he has reason to do so. So we can just, go ahead and prevent this further behavior from occurring in the future. So we're going to go application security, anomaly detection, web scraping, and instead of alarm, we're going to say alarm and block on each one of these.
That .41 address, will at some point will get blocked anyway because it's past a certain threshold, and then it'll block it for a period of time unless we just add it specifically to the list of non-allowed addresses. Is that right?
Right, and then there's the prevention duration setting that we can add here. So we're saying unlimited. So we're going to, after we put you on the naughty list, we'll continue blocking you.
Gotcha.
Let's go back. I'm going to go ahead and switch screens here again. Get my bots going again.
Okay, and so now we're at alarm and block, where before we're just at alarm, and ASM will gather up all that info, let the administrator know what's going on, and unless it reached a certain threshold, it would still have allowed it up to a certain point of navigating the site.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to get our bots going again.
And so we often hear about, obviously in the news, in the media, we hear about denial of service attacks and SQL injections and cross-site scripting. Those are pretty well known. How often is this used? Is this a fairly well-known attack or an attack that's used often?
It's difficult to always classify it as an attack because you have to think about the assets that you're protecting and the intentions of the attacker or the threat against those assets.
Right.
So the intentions could be recon for further malicious activity. The intentions could be competitive in nature, or intentions could be less threatening, so to speak. So you have organizations out there that go out and archive websites for viewing at a point in time at a later date. Not all the time is it an attack. However, this can go back to protecting your intellectual property, protecting your website from recon, quick recon, so to speak. So you raise the level of investment that in either in time or resources that an attacker has to spend in reconning your website or protecting, again, against those competitors who want to go out and get your pricing information. And, I guarantee that if you have a website online, this is happening to you probably fairly frequently and you just don't notice it.
Got it.
Right. So if you have if you're doing any kind of e-commerce, if you just have a web presence, if your organization is anywhere in the top Fortune 2000, guaranteed that this is happening to you.
So the ASM was in blocking mode. So before it was just in alerting, and now in blocking.
Right. So now we're in blocking mode. We've gone back and looked at our event log again, and now we're seeing where we see rejected requests.
Right.
So I started up those bots again. You have them do a couple sessions where they're trying to record the entirety of the website. You see where we're starting to reject those requests.
I gotcha.
Yeah. And we see the transactions per session anomaly. Once we turn this into blocking, those further offending requests will be blocked, and they won't receive the content for that web page.
Right, and I see how right above the 165 rejected requests, there's that 5 violating requests, and once that hits a certain threshold, we'll probably start seeing the rejected requests again, right? Oh, look at that.
So, yeah. So if we go ahead and click on the violating request, we'll see, hey, you hit these thresholds. And now all these, every time that the bot went after one of these pages, it was blocked from receiving that web page.
Oh, and I see the requested URL. So it even tried to hit that forgot password PHP page. Nice.
By following those links, bots are able to duplicate most, if not all, of a prospective website.
And so this actually could even potentially protect the company, say, from maybe a man-in-the-middle attack or DNS poisoning. And so these malware malicious hackers out there will build. I know they build these financial websites that look exactly like, the actual functioning financial website. And this could, like they could go out, do the bot, scrape the entire site and get all of the, logos and color codes and paths and everything else and essentially recreate that financial website, albeit a malicious website, and then do that DNS poisoning, cache poisoning, or even a man in the middle and send the user to that malicious site. And they potentially could have built that site based on a crawl such as this.
Precisely, right. So the information that they're gathering from your website can be used in a malicious manner.
Yeah.
It's a question of, looking at how quickly they can do that. So, there would be little or no means to actually prevent, someone with the appropriate resource or with very little resources from actually copying a website, right? They would just copy it low and slow, but that will obviously be extremely time consuming.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Typically pure bot scripts can be, like I said, can be as simple as using wget, go out and copy your entire site. But if someone's using an automated tool such as that, you'll be able to detect that activity and take appropriate action.
It's pretty cool stuff, Corey.
Yeah, pretty neat stuff.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the bot detection and web scraping. An inside look into BIG-IP ASM and how it protects your website against this type of malicious activity, whether it just be crawlers out there, bots who want to steal information, or even those malicious users that want to essentially recreate your website on a malicious server. So thanks a lot, Corey. This is great stuff. So for Corey on the other line, I'm Peter, and we're with F5 Networks. Visit us online at www.f5.com or follow us on Twitter at F5 Networks. Thanks for watching.